Good morning, everyone. Every morning in KwaZulu-Natal, thousands of parents send their children off to school with one simple hope, that they will arrive safely. Yet today, more than 150,000 learners are caught in a transport system riddled with safety failures, poor oversight, and unanswered questions. This is not just a policy issue, it's a crisis affecting real families, real communities, and real lives. Joining us today is Riona Gokool from the Democratic Alliance, who has been vocal about the failures within KZN's learner transport system. In this conversation, we'll unpack what's going wrong, who must be held accountable, and what practical steps can be taken right now to protect learners and restore parents' trust. This is a conversation every parent, educator, and concerned citizen needs to hear. How are you, Riona?
I'm good, thanks yourself. Good morning, good evening, good morning to yourself and to your viewers, your subscribers, and thank you for having me this morning.
It's my pleasure to really have you. And yeah, let's get the ball rolling, Riona. For viewers who may not be fully aware, can you explain what the learner transport crisis in KZN currently looks like on the ground?
Okay, so firstly, obviously, currently the crisis is being felt by communities throughout KZN. We do have about 77,000 learners who do benefit from the learner transport program, but we do also have 157,000 learners who aren't benefiting from
Oh,
that particular program. They are obviously on the waiting list. And being on the waiting list obviously then means they have to walk long distances to the school, or they have to use private transport, sometimes which is unsafe, or have informal transport arrangements. So what we're also saying is this is not just a transport issue. Obviously, it's affecting students, learners, children that go to school. They don't get to school, they don't learn, which
hmm.
then sometimes leads to the dropout rate. Because I mean, after a week of not going to school, you just decide, okay, I'm not going to school, and that's it. We have children obviously that have to travel on foot, or like I say, in informal transport, in dangerous traffic areas, deal with crime when they walk in. Some of them get mugged. And then we obviously have the extreme weather conditions in KZN. If it's not raining really badly, it's obviously extreme heat like we're experiencing currently.
Yeah.
So like I say, it's the difference between consistent attendance and dropout. But as you know, we are part of the GPU, Government of Provincial Unity. And so we have to be honest with communities as well and say that the system is under strain, resources are limited, but learner safety and dignity must remain central to every decision we take. So that's where we are at the moment in answering your question there.
Awesome. What are the most serious safety failures you have identified in the current learner transport system?
Okay, so I don't know if the viewers or your subscribers have been following the media, but I mean, both the Transport Portfolio Committee and the Education Portfolio Committee, as well as the MEC, Mr. Duma, Honorable Duma, has been doing inspections of our learner transport from last year, and the beginning of this year, obviously, as school started. So the most serious failures are obviously of vehicle safety, oversight of those vehicles, and enforcement. Like I said, the recent inspections show that vehicles are unroadworthy, such as defective brakes, worn out tires, license discs are expired. Drivers licenses are either non-existent or also expired, and that obviously then all leads to tragic loss of life, which you've seen from
Hmm.
last year to this year. Some really horrific, heartbreaking accidents on the road, and that's a consequence again of uh, the vehicles not being roadworthy, our drivers not having the necessary documentation, and us on our side, as in like RTI, Metro, MPs, MPLs, all role players not enforcing and performing that necessary oversight there. So the other issues include your overloading, a big issue there, and again, driver vetting, poor compliance. It all falls under that umbrella of vehicles not being roadworthy and your drivers as well. So like I say, Duma, together with the committee, we've all acknowledged that these risks are there, and we've all intensified our efforts and are committed to enforcement, to audits, removal of these unsafe vehicles from the road.
Awesome. Over 150,000 learners are affected. How did the province get to this point, and who should be held accountable?
Okay, so it's obviously like most issues, it's long-standing or over a long period of time. It's structural pressures, it's
Mm,
population growth, it's expanding rural schooling needs, rising
yeah.
operational costs, and constrained budget. So here's where the figures come in. The learner transport program requires 374 million rand between
Wow.
September 2025 and March 2026 alone, but the annual approved budget stands at 343 million rand. So much of which was already spent by mid-year. So accountability is institutional, but and also not political. We gotta look, like I say, look at population growth, your budget. It's a holistic
Mm,
approach to the issues, which are holistic. And then again, within the GPU, it's our responsibility to ensure that departments plan better, procure transparently, and account for every rand spent. And when these processes fail, we need to put the corrective steps, in place, which we currently are trying to do, um, to now get learner transport back on track.
You've called for stricter enforcement. Which specific regulations are being ignored or poorly enforced right now?
So like I said in your earlier question, it's your roadworthiness of your vehicles. We need to enforce that. We need to ensure that vehicles are being checked, that they are good to go on the road, proper tires, your brakes, etc. They have the
Mhm.
necessary documentation, they license accordingly. The people driving your vehicles, that they are competent to drive the vehicles, that they have, current licenses, no overloading, they comply with the route that's been given to them. Yeah, and as I've said, and as you've seen, both the MEC and us as a committee, we've been out and we've been inspecting these vehicles, and where we've seen that they're just not complying, we have told them to take them off the road. And then again, also, again, a
Mhm.
holistic approach. We need local municipalities with their law enforcement agencies to also come in and ensure that they, are on the road enforcing the road safety laws. Let's put it that way. Together, it's everyone. It's community, law enforcement, legislation, departments. All of us play our have to play our part, but in unison
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
So it's basically all a teamwork exercise.
exactly.
Awesome. How much of this crisis is driven by budget constraints versus mismanagement or poor planning?
So, like I said, it's a bit of both, right? I've mentioned that
Oh,
it's
okay.
constrained
Oh,
budget with
all right.
mismanagement from the department side in terms of like
Mhm.
consequence management in implementation,
Mhm.
in terms of how the budget is spent, you holding certain people accountable. So it is a bit of both. You need to understand that KZN has a vast rural community as well.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and so the planning needs to take that into consideration, and we shouldn't have any planning gaps when we are planning. Um, and again, we need to coordinate between the Department of Education, between the Department of Transport, and all the various role players. There needs to be a constant communication and coordination. And like I say, when we see gaps and where we see failures, we should not be reactive, but rather proactive in that. So, just to answer your question simply, it's a bit of both,
Okay.
both mismanagement and budget. Yeah.
What immediate steps should the provincial government take to prevent further harm to learners while longer term reforms are debated?
Okay, so again, right now, as you can see, it's a priority. The fact that the MEC himself has been out, the committee has been out. We are saying, again, as the GPU, we should prioritize funding to stabilize existing learner transport contracts. We should fast track the appointment of new and compliant service providers. We should intensify vehicle inspections and remove unsafe vehicles from service. Complete the province-wide audit of private scholar transport, which also plays a role in the issues that we have seen. And then again, I've said here, it's coordination and communication. So improve communication with schools and parents about eligibility and timelines. These steps, like I've said, are being implemented already. We just need to amplify it and, ensure that it's like everyone's on the same page and it's implemented and accelerated.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Yeah.
What is the Democratic Alliance's concrete vision for a safer, more reliable learner transport system in KZN?
Okay, so as the Democratic Alliance in the GPU, the vision is clear. A fully funded, integrated learner transport system linked to education planning. I have spoken about this, where there needs to be communication between education and transport. It's not either or. Strict safety enforcement with zero tolerance for unroadworthy vehicles. Again, I've been speaking about this throughout.
Yeah.
Transparent procurement and fair contracting, regular audits and public reporting. Be fair, be transparent, be accountable to the people, to the taxpayer, to the ratepayer. Clear roles for parents, schools, and communities. Again, I said it's a holistic approach with having
Yeah.
everybody, all role players, working together, but at the same time, everybody knowing what their mandates are. It's simple. It just comes down to competency, safety, and
Yeah.
accountability. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If implemented, how would the DA's proposed reforms directly improve daily safety for learners and peace of mind for parents?
Okay, so if, like I say, if we do these very simple steps, like I've outlined, obviously
Yeah.
simple steps, but more details in the background, these reforms would obviously mean that our children travel safely in inspected vehicles. Parents know who to contact if services fail. Schools are not left managing transport crisis, in the mornings or in the afternoons by themselves. Yeah, and then again, accidents caused by neglect or non-compliance are drastically reduced. That's what we want to see. We want to see our kids get to school and get back from school safely in one piece, make it home to their parents. That's what we want. We want our kids to be safe and at home. And this is how we start rebuilding trust as well, because I know a lot of communities are upset, and rightfully so. They've lost the future. They've lost their future. They've lost loved ones, their kids. So through this consistent, visible safety improvements, we rebuild the trust of our communities.
All right. What role can parents, schools, and communities play in reporting failures or holding authorities accountable?
So again, I keep talking about a holistic approach. I keep talking about
Oh.
everybody needs it. It's not a my problem, a you problem, or a them problem.
Mm.
Oh, my kid, goes to school, she gets back home
Mhm.
properly and fine because I drop in fetch. Everybody needs to take cognizance of the fact that we
Mm.
have an issue, and let's all play our part. And so when it comes down to parents, schools, and communities, again, it's a shared responsibility. And we're saying parents and school governing bodies must refuse unsafe or overloaded transport. Don't do it. Don't send your kids in transport you already can see that's overloaded. Um, Demand to know who's the driver and verify driver permits and vehicle conditions. You have that right. You can do that. And report failures to authorities and representatives immediately. Don't say, well, they'll fix it tomorrow, or, my kid has to get to school. Or play that role. Be active, be vocal, hold officials accountable, hold us accountable. And like I say, us as the GPU has committed to working directly with the communities, with taxi associations, and faith leaders to build a culture where learner safety comes before profit or convenience.
Awesome. Finally, what message would you like to send to parents and learners who feel abandoned by the current system?
Look, I'm a parent myself, and when because I sit on the portfolio committee, every time I get a notification that there's another accident on the road, my heart sinks.
Mm,
Um, I can't imagine what parents go through when they hear that this kid's been in an accident, and worse off that the kid didn't make it. So I want to say to them, your concerns are real and your voices do matter. We stand with you. For those that have lost loved ones, our hearts are with you. Condolences, our sympathies. I say this in all my, and it might just be come across as, oh, she's just putting it out in a statement, but it is there. We feel your pain. We recognize your fear, your frustration about your kids, that they're actually forced to walk these long distances or rely on unsafe transport, and it's not on. So again, as part of the government of provincial unity, we are committed to strengthening coordination, improving planning, and enforcing safety standards, and ensuring that resources are used effectively so that your student, your child, not even your child, can travel to school safely and with dignity. And again, I will say, learner transport or learner safety is a shared responsibility. It's not yours or mine,
mm.
it's everybody's. And that's a non negotiable.
All I gotta say, thanks so much for your time and hope to catch up with you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. For the viewers, subscribers, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, whenever you need me on, just let me know and be glad to come on again. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Take care.
Okay, have a